Welcome everyone in the room and watching us on Grassroots TV. Today is September 9th. We're into the fall season. I want to thank all those who turned out for the MAC Fest last weekend. I was out of town and missed it, but I hear it really turned out well and a lot of people attended. You're watching the City Regular Council meeting tonight, and we will start with a call to order.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Councillor Benedetti.
Yes.
Councillor Doyle.
Here.
Councillor Guth. Councillor Rose.
Here.
Mayor Richards.
Here. And Councilmember Guth had let us know he would not be able to attend tonight because he has parent-teacher conferences in multiple grades. So we understand family business sometimes taking precedent. I think he forwarded a few comments on a few of the items just for our consideration. And we will now go to scheduled public appearances, of which we have none. We will now go to citizen comments and petitions. These are times for citizens to address council on any item not on the agenda. You have approximately 3 minutes, and I am not seeing anyone online at this time. Is anyone in the room here for public comment? There being none, I will close the public comment section of the meeting, and we will move on to special orders of today, and that's council members and mayor's comments first. Let me turn to whoever would like to address this. This is not board reports, it's just comments.
Nothing prepared, but I am really grateful that we're finally getting some rain. It doesn't really mean we're out of the woods yet, but it's a step in the right direction.
Agreed with that. Christine?
Lucy's not here. I did just see her in the hall, but I wanted to, if people had not read the newspapers yesterday, bring everyone up to date that the printing press deadline is earlier, a lot earlier now. So decisions and conversations that happen here at the council table will likely not be in the next day's print edition. They'll be online. This is for both the Times and the Daily News, so that's an update to a pretty routine thing in Aspen.
Yeah, no, that really, I remember when the printing presses moved out of the valley and far away, and then there's always delivery challenges. So appreciate you making that announcement, and it might just make watching Grassroots TV a little more important to people who want to see what's going on right away. So we'll just see how that plays out. Sam?
Yeah, I can't remember the last time we didn't have a public speaker for public comment. It's wild. I guess my only comment is looking at the information memo, and one of them's the West End congestion follow-up memo. Look forward to implementing or looking at more of those solutions. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I got a phone call from a resident in that neighborhood, and then spoke to another about that alleyway. We've
all been talking about the
Yeah. So just wanted to bring it up again because I don't think it was specifically, it was mentioned as one of the items to work on, but not in the actionable items beneath it. So I just wanted to bring it up as far as hopefully we can have some sort of resolution there that makes sense for everyone.
And I believe Pete is having some direct conversations with some of those individuals later this week. So we all are well aware of that. And, you know, frankly, I would like to add additional items to that information-only memo. There's one thing that people have discussed with me a few times now, and I don't know that we really put it into our West End discussion because West End traffic is related highly to Highway 82 traffic and how backed up that is. But they've said, why is the crosswalk there at 7th Street, you know, near the old Poppy's restaurant, the school district housing, why is it on demand as opposed to a timed intersection? Because you'll have one person push a button and stop all the traffic, and then just 15 seconds later, one other person will stop the traffic, as opposed to, say, crosswalks in front of the Hotel Jerome, where you wait until it gives you the cross signal. But that might assist with some of our traffic delays. It's another thing to take a look at in the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So just want to pass that along. Other comments?
Just one other comment on the information update of Aspen Country Inn budget status. I hope the APSHA board can help address these things. It's very frustrating that our hands are tied being able to place people in open units. So I'm hoping that within our power of control, it seems like it's an APSHA issue, you guys are able to help resolve that to the best of your ability.
I was going to save some of this for manager's comments,
there
but
you
that's
go.
okay. I just had an update to that we actually are going to fill one of the 2-bedroom units that's currently open, which is great. We have 4 active applicants right now and another 15 inquiries just based on the amount of outreach that staff has been doing and pushing out there lately. So maybe things will start to turn. I'm hopeful. And as you saw, we definitely are concerned by it, but we're doing everything we can to try to mitigate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Pete. And just for the viewing public, some of our affordable housing projects were created using what is called as LIHTC, Low Income Tax Credits. And those are federal tax credits that bring revenue into a project. We have found over time they don't really work out that well. They don't age well, is the best way to say it, because as incomes rise, the federal standards for maximum income do not rise. And a lot of the lower income people or people who would find housing here are working 2 jobs or something like that. And so they're just making a little bit over the limit and not able to be fulfilled. So that's a challenge for our community. We do have practically a minimum wage of $20 an hour, effectively in this town. It's not a law. I would say that I talked with Jerry Lynn of the CHFA, Colorado Housing and Finance, this weekend, and she assured me of one factor, which I have passed along to Diane, that if someone is qualified when they get into a LIHTC project and their income should rise before the next or during the course of their stay there with the new requalifications, they still can stay even if their income has risen. And that's only true on a LIHTC project with no free market component, and of course our governmental ones had no free market components. So it might be different for others. But we have passed that along. I think APCHA has been operating under that premise already. But again, what we'd really like to see is a little more flexibility from the feds as far as how the LIHTC guidelines are updated periodically. Thank you for bringing that up. For me, for mayor's comments, unfortunately, I have a whole bunch for everybody today, and I'll just try to go through this quickly, but the city of Aspen has a lot going on. And so the Environmental and Health Department, Sustainability Department is hosting an electronic equipment demo day for landscapers and landscaping companies on September 15th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Rio Grande Park. Attendees are invited for a free lunch to test out the latest electric lawn equipment, which, of course, doesn't have the fumes and doesn't make as much noise, to provide feedback to help shape our future rebate programs. We also have a Ready and Resilient event on Thursday, September 22nd from 4 to 5 p.m. at the Aspen Police Department to learn how to prepare yourself to be ready for an emergency, specifically wildfire, what your family needs to know, what you need to know, and how you can keep your family safe. It's an extremely dry year, and we are susceptible to wildfire here at home. So the event is called Ready and Resilient. It will be held virtually as well. And so if you want more information, you can go to the police department website at aspen.gov. Translation in Spanish will be available at the event. I think it's really important to bear in mind and plan your week ahead that the Colorado Department of Transportation will be conducting asphalt surface maintenance on Thursday, September 11th, along the west end of Highway 82 Main Street corridor from Aspen Street to 7th Street. I think we've all noticed the potholes, and so it's pretty good they're getting out to fix them before the winter. It's a one-day project. There will be rolling detours and one-lane traffic control impacts through the westbound lane. Each work location will last approximately 1 hour, so drivers should expect delays and plan extra travel time. There's also some local asphalt milling and paving work that's going to begin on Monday, the 15th, and we will start asphalt milling and paving work to maintain the quality of our streets. The first street location will be South Garmisch, with work continuing on several other roads throughout town in the following weeks. While this work is underway, there will be temporary impacts to residential parking in certain areas, and we're going to try to minimize disruption and implement rolling detours to ensure traffic flow and access are maintained. We do appreciate the community's patience as we carry out this sort of maintenance work. On a more exciting level, we have the City Hall Biannual Exhibition, which joining us on this week, September 11th, seems to be a lot of things piling up on the 11th, from 4 to 6 p.m. We're going to have an evening of art, music, and community as the Red Brick presents a new exhibition in City Hall, celebrating the extraordinary talents of Colorado artists. Visitors to the art reception will enjoy artist talks, drinks, light bites, and live music. And there will be a progressive tour starting at 4:30 p.m., moving from floor to floor, each level hosting different snacks and artists. The event is free and open to the public, and that is at City Hall here facing Rio Grande Park. And there's one other that is not a city announcement, but I would like to make, as we're all so involved in our community. Actually, two other announcements. Friday on the 12th will be the Trash Crush. This is always brought by the Pristine Riders, and Eric Scarvin at Sundog Athletics has always been the organizer. They're going to meet at 10 a.m. until about 12:30 on Friday the 12th at the North Star Nature Preserve Southgate. And they will have vests for you to be orange and safe from traffic. They're going to send people out to clean up our highways and our trails and these sort of things. I participated this springtime, and I might be able to make an hour or two of it this time, but it really is a great community event, and it keeps our community looking fabulous. So you can get more information on the Friday Trash Crush. There's a free lunch for the first 25 people who sign up at sundog@sopris.net, and talk to Eric Scarvin. But that's a great way to get a little exercise, a little sunshine, and help the community. So I think those were all the announcements for today, and we would now go to agenda amendments. Are there any agenda amendments? No, none today. And then we will go to the city manager's comments.
I just want to say thanks to Councilmember Rose for bringing up the info-only memos. I appreciate folks reading through those and making sure if you have any comments, just to send those back to me, and happy to respond. Also, thanks for the opportunity for the meet and greet, Council. I think it went fairly well. I got to meet some new folks in the community, as well as seeing some familiar faces, so that was nice. Other than that, I do not have any additional comments.
Thank you, and thanks to all of our staff who have organized the Wheeler event and the Wheeler staff. It really was a good event. Appreciate that. We would now move on to board reports. Sam, do you have any today? No. Okay. John?
No board reports, but earlier today, in this very building, CORE gave a presentation jointly with APSHA about what HOAs in APSHA can do to help reduce their energy bills, and I'm eager to find out how that went at my next APSHA meeting. I'd also like to remind everybody that CORE is also giving a Green Expo September 12th. It's free at the Limelight Lodge. Goes from 1 till 5 p.m. Learn how to make your home or business more energy efficient. Hear from industry experts and community leaders, and stop by the CORE booth to learn about rebates that are available to you to help make your home or business more energy efficient. Again, that's September 12th from 1 to 5 p.m., and there is a cocktail hour afterwards, free and open to the public. Thanks.
Sounds good. Christine? Nothing? Okay, great. I did attend the Club 20 Fall Conference this weekend. It was Friday and Saturday in Grand Junction. Club 20 is an organization of the western 20 counties of Colorado who banded together 60 years ago to make sure we got our roads paved on the side of the Continental Divide. And I participate with all the different subcommittees in order to hear what they're doing, offer some input. They have energy committees, public lands committees, agriculture committee, business affairs, where they cover topics such as housing. It was a really very exciting conference in the fall because that's when they adopt the new resolutions that were created by those sort of subcommittees. And it's also a gathering of a great many political leaders, a chance to kind of chat in the hallway and talk to people. So I did see Senator Hickenlooper there attending the Friday night steak fry. Phil Weiser, our Attorney General, was there as well. And on Saturday morning, they had a presentation of information from our Congressman Jeff Hurd. Pardon me. But I would like to announce that we received some great news over the weekend, and that the $33 million RAFTA grant has been released. And Jeff Hurd's office spent a good bit of time working on that. And so I'd like to thank him and all the rest of the Colorado delegation who put in a good word for us. This allows RAFTA to complete the facility in Glenwood Springs, and it moved forward with further electrification. So this is really very good news. That is something that we've been kind of sitting on the edge of our seat about for the past 9 months to wonder what's going to happen with that. And so that's all for me for board reports. Yes?
Oh, just a question. Was there a 21st century transportation meeting and
Yeah,
did recently?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, last Thursday. Would you like to comment on that meeting,
Yeah,
Christine?
we haven't typically been giving
Too much of an
board
update.
reports on those. you want
Which
one?
is fine, I respect that, but I don't think I've ever asked like why, because I do feel like I read in the paper and I think it pertains to this, but if
Yeah,
not, tell me
It
why.
probably does. The last meeting was primarily updates on any number of other projects that are occurring that will potentially affect transportation in the future. So we had our staff present on the lumberyard, which was very good. We had a presentation by the airport on what is happening there at the airport. There really hasn't been any greater or further discussion about what type of plan would help us reduce the congestion yet.
All right.
It's still in a learning phase and understanding the whole context of issues.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate that. And
Yeah, that was the wrap-up of the information gathering for the first 4 or 5 months, and then I think the next 6 sessions are dedicated to solutions and the advice or kind of suggestions they want to give elected officials.
Okay, in whatever appropriate setting, I'd love to hear about those.
they are public meetings, and so if you'd like to attend or
Okay.
any member of the public would like to attend, they're open, and that's why we have such great coverage with Lucy
Okay.
and some of the other papers.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for asking. There being nothing else, I will ask if we'd like to move on to the consent calendar. And the first item is Resolution 125, Series of 2025, the Community Health Services Off-Cycle Grant Request. I think we've all been discussing this before, and the cutbacks that had happened federally are something we're backfilling this year, along with a lot of other funding partners, to make sure that cervical and breast cancer screenings continue up at Aspen Community Health. And we also have the draft minutes of August 26, 2025. Did anybody have any additions or changes or corrections to the minutes? No. Okay, well, those are the 2 items on the consent calendar. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded. Will you call the roll, please, Nicole?
Counselor Benedetti?
Yes.
Counselor Doyle?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Richard?
Yes, thank you very much. The next item on our agenda is a notice of call-up. This was a Historic Preservation Commission approval of Certificate of Appropriateness for the 305 South Mill Street Wild Fig. I always think of the Wild Fig as where Gravity House is, but they have moved over. Let me just ask, do we need the presentation, or do we need to see if council would like to call up?
I'll just give like a brief overview and then.
Please.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Jillian White, Historic Preservation Officer, and as Mayor Richards said, this evening I'm bringing before you a notice of call-up for 305 South Mill Street, also known as the Wild Fig Restaurant. On July 9th, 2025, by a vote of 4-0, the Historic Preservation Commission approved Resolution Number 7 of Series 2025, which grants a certificate of appropriateness for major development conceptual plan review with additional reviews that include commercial design review, mountain view plane review, growth management quota system review, and special review for transportation and parking management. The resolution approved a conceptual development plan for the Wild Fig restaurant, which proposes to enclose the existing outdoor seating area, which includes a new roof, alterations to existing doors and windows, and new exterior materials. The approved resolution includes conditions related to height, materials, and lighting, which are all typical of a conceptual plan review. But in addition to those, given the scope of work will increase the amount of net leasable space by 1,363 square feet. The resolution also includes conditions for mitigation requirements related to transportation, pedestrian amenity, solid waste, and affordable housing. Staff supports the design and recommended support of the approval of the resolution. And to conclude, staff recommends City Council uphold the decision of the HPC and approve Resolution 7 of Series 2025. I'm here to answer more questions, or if you would like a further presentation on this, then we could prepare that for a future meeting.
Okay, thank you. And the packet was very well prepared with the drawings and things like that. Council members, does anyone have an interest in calling this up?
I have a question
Please.
about it. So code allows for the closure of the patio. Is this setting precedent in terms of other businesses or restaurants being able to enclose their patios?
It's a great question, and over the last several years, I think particularly an impetus during COVID, lots of questions about how restaurants particularly could take better advantage of outdoor patio space. And this property particularly, I think you're fortunate to be on the council now as opposed to previous councils where every year there was a temporary use request for enclosing that space in previous restaurants. We've had other properties pursue this. I will say the big deal about this is affordable housing mitigation related to an increase of net leasable. Once you enclose those patio spaces, the studies and regulations that we put in place regarding that can be quite expensive for a restaurant to contemplate that, acknowledging the employee generation impacts of that additional square footage. When it's open patio, we don't think of it in that way, but once you enclose it, it becomes part of the conversation, part of the review. And so I don't want to say that it's a deterrent for a lot of restaurants, because I do think there's significant value in that additional space for restaurants. But it is a big consideration for restaurants when they're considering the permanent enclosure of these spaces. On a temporary basis, from year to year, it's not such a significant mitigation impact because we amortize these calculations over 30 years. But when you're doing that permanently, it becomes a fairly significant mitigation impact, and often a primary consideration for a restaurant who might be thinking about enclosing spaces permanently. It's certainly allowed in the code. Certainly there's a path forward. In this case, because it's in the district, it was reviewed by HPC, but we've had other properties go in front of P&Z for similar considerations, similar reviews. But it's certainly something to be considered, but it's a big consideration for a restaurant when they decide to do so.
Are you kind of saying that it has been done before, so it's not precedent setting?
No, and I think that the code gives a very clear path. This is outside of the call-up sort of things that are up for discussion, but just for council's information, this is a path that people have considered. There's a clear path in the code for it. It's just that we acknowledge a very significant employee generation impact when you do this, and so it's people have usually either pursued a kind of a temporary kind of enclosure of it, a seasonal enclosure for up to 180 days, or they've gone down the path and kind of backed off because of the mitigation impacts. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from council? I will just say briefly, I was on a council 3 or 4 years ago who dealt with this application as the temporary application repeatedly. And there were a lot of concerns that it really didn't match the character of that area, that it had been temporary and then tried to use it as a winter market and all sorts of things. So I'm glad to see it moving forward in a licensable way that is not, that's kind of annual dispute about a framework being left up for a summer patio that looked terrible in the winter.
Yeah.
With nothing there.
I think staff and HPC see it as a very successful proposal.
Yep. And so please thank the HPC staff for all their hard work and time, and the board members for the time they put into these applications. We couldn't do it without them. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. There will be no call-up. We don't need a motion of any sort. All right, we go to first reading of ordinances, and there are none today, but we will go to public hearings, which is the next item up. Ben, you might as well stay there. We've got resolution number 118, series of 2025, the policy resolutions for amendments to special review, signs, and creation of a fee deferral and/or waiver program. And it's kind of consideration of creation of a fee program. It's not definite yet. Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor Richards and City Council Haley Hart, Long Range Planner. I've got just a few slides to share with y'all for this policy resolution. So this is sort of a batch grouping of different code amendments to open. We did a similar process last year and just sort of batching sort of different topics happening sort of simultaneously for code amendments. And the policy resolution is one of the required steps to initiate any sort of amendments to Title 26, the Aspen Land Use Code. So before you tonight in Policy Resolution 118, we've got 4 separate topics. The first is a review standards for special review. This is part of the nonconformity special review that the Planning and Zoning Commission proceeds with, and I'll sort of do a little slide on each one of these. The second 2 come out of our signs chapter. This is 2 different components, 2 code changes. And then the third is the potential creation of a fee deferral and/or waiver program. So the first one, again, this is the review criteria for special review when an applicant is asking to continue a nonconformity. So this could be dimensionally, so think, floor area or height. It could be a nonconformity because it's in the setback. But we have specific review criteria, one of which you see in front of you, italicized. And this is what P&Z reviews against when making a decision if a nonconformity shall continue or be redeveloped in its sort of existing form. And one of the issues that we've had that P&Z had sort of initiated to bring to council for a code change is looking at the criteria number 4 that asks the applicant if there is a hardship that prohibits the owner from reasonable use of the property. And this has been a really difficult review criteria for both staff and P&Z to review against because hardship can be a bit subjective in nature. And so staff sort of has identified a path forward to create a little bit more objectivity when it comes to the review standards for this specific criteria. So I think this one's a pretty minimal code change, that there's a clear path forward, and this has been a P&Z initiated request.
And all of these potential code changes would come back to us.
Correct. With a first and second reading, and we see them as separate. We wouldn't combine the ordinances.
Okay, I just want to ask that for the public.
Yes,
Thank you.
yes. So the second potential code change is for the residential signs component to our sign code, which is Chapter 26.510. This was initiated by City Council this past spring. This was a response to a recent residential yard sign enforcement. And there is the evaluation of time, place, and manner, which is what the city is allowed to regulate signage on. This is sort of a federal standard based in that sort of Supreme Court statute. So there's two options for City Council to sort of direct staff on, and that is to remain with the status quo for residential yard signage, or to remove the time, place, and manner on all residential sign regulations. The third component, which also comes out of the sign code, is specific to one subsection, which is section 26.510.120. This section regulates signage on public property. This is something that the city engineer department requested from community development staff, and that we feel we are in agreement with, removing two specific subsections. This is the banners and flags on Main Street light posts and the signage across Main Street at 3rd Street. Engineering staff had requested this from community development because this really is right-of-way signage, which is more an engineer's bucket than it is regulated by the community development staff. And this is also so they can better regulate our sort of right-of-way signage with CDOT. So they're hoping to sort of pluck this out and put it in a more appropriate spot that has engineering and sort of utilities having oversight of this.
Will we
Two
be
sections.
having any additions once it gets into the engineering departments
That,
about?
I don't know. I do think, so Jack Dannyberg was sort of the lead on this. This is sort of step one. We would still need to go through an ordinance on our end to remove it out of our code. I do anticipate that Jack wanted to sort of make some updates that conform better to what CDOT was looking for.
Okay, thank you.
And then the fourth item is the creation or potential creation of the fee deferral and/or waiver program. Again, this was initiated by City Council this past summer. And we will base this program off of sort of these three current programs that all include either a fee deferral or waiver. These were outlined in the memo. I don't know if we need to go over them. I think you are all sort of aware of the fee deferral for free market residents. We have the fee waiver program for 100% affordable housing. And then we have, within an ordinance, a sort of fee waiver and rebate program for the preservation of small lodges. So staff anticipates bringing a first reading of an ordinance for the creation of the fee deferral and/or waiver program. But otherwise, we'll be doing that with the four topics, unless City Council would like to give direction on the process for any of these four proposed code changes.
Does anyone have any suggestions other than standard process? I don't think so.
So the policy resolution tonight is 118 series of 2025.
Okay, thank you. I will open the public hearing on the staff memo resolution 118. You've all heard the individual topics that we will be coming back to us individually through both a first and a second reading after. Now, will ComDev staff be presenting these to P&Z as well first?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
And
So-
and HPC as well.
And
That's
HPC as well, because they,
recommendation. And then, I think these are relatively targeted code changes with fairly minimal text requirement, text changes that are necessary to them. But if we get into the conversation, we start to think about it, and we'll certainly be doing press releases and hopefully talking with Lucy and others in the press to get, some of these changes out. But if it becomes apparent that we need to do more robust public engagement on any of these topics as solutions start to present themselves, we'll engage with that before coming back to the ordinance process.
okay, thank you for that. Are there members of the public who would like to comment on Resolution 118? Anyone online? We do have Patrick Raleigh. Can you make Patrick Raleigh a speaker, please? Sorry. It's okay. You got a hand up. Patrick, you may need to turn your microphone on. There you go. Go right ahead.
Hi, thank you very much. Patrick Raleigh, Raleigh Design Planning. You may remember that I was there for the Cerise Barabee family that requested the fee waiver request for the longtime locals. So I'm happy that you guys are considering this. I think this is a very important matter. As I said back in June, our longtime locals are the corner of our community, and there are so many hurdles that they face through construction costs and other issues, the pull of selling your property, leaving the community, that I really think that we should support our longtime locals by giving them a break on and some predictability of what these fees would be, and allow them to stay. Many of them have lived in the community for many, many years. In our case, the Cerise Barabee family have been here since 1957, if not before, and have put their time in and created many of the aspects of the community that we know and enjoy today. So I think it's time to honor that. I think it's time to give them some predictability and give them a reason to be able to stay, not only for this generation, but for future generations. Aspen has a bit of a retention issue, and so many of our longtime locals have moved on, and that is a travesty, really, for the community to have lost that aspect. So let's step up now and really support the longtime locals and give them a break in some of these fees. We're not asking for a free lunch. We know that things cost money and we need to process these applications, but there are targeted areas that some reductions or waivers can be provided that will be very, very meaningful. So I thank you for your consideration, and we look forward to following this and having future discussions on this program. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your comments, Patrick. Is there anyone else online who would like to comment? Or again, anyone in the room? There being none, I will close the public hearing and bring this back to council. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 118, series of 2025? And after a motion is made, we'll see if there's any discussion or requests for changes in that.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Council discussion. Are there comments that people would like to make, or again, any additions or changes? No? I'd just like to thank Ben and ComDev staff for bringing this forward. And we know there's a lot of demand on ComDev time all the time, and we appreciate simplifying and improving our code. So will you call the roll, please, Nicole?
Counselor Benedetti?
Yes.
Counselor Doyle?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Richards?
Yes. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time. We're now going to move on to Resolution 129, series of 2025. This is the Armory Hall remodel and reuse interior design progress. And we're going to see some nice pictures for everyone, and we're going to talk about where this one is going. This is an action item. It is not a public hearing.
The bar. Sorry. Right click.
Javier, they may need some help. No, you're.
Sorry. We were having problems earlier where it's showing the note side on the screen.
Okay. There you go.
We're all good. All right, well, thank you for your patience, Mayor and City Council. My name is Jen Phelan. I'm with the Asset Department, and before you at the table, we have Simon Elliott from CCY Architects and also Sydney Quinlan. They'll be speaking tonight on the interior design and programming changes that you're going to see and the progression that's occurred. Remotely, I have Bo Breck of Ripple Creek Properties. He has been with our team as a, basically an operator advisor for the project. So if there's any questions that are in that topic, he's here to help answer some of those. So this evening, we'll be talking about program updates. We'll be talking about some changes to the service entry, topics that have been brought up in the past, and also the mezzanine layout. We'll then be moving on to interior design progress that's occurred on this project. We will be showing you conceptual design, renderings, and some initial material palette and FF&E concepts, so furniture and fixtures, essentially. We also will have some questions that we'll be looking for answers tonight, and we added to this, we recently received a estimate based on design development drawings for the project, and so I've included a slide on those numbers to introduce you to some estimated costs associated with the project. Couple things we'll be asking about tonight. We'll be looking to confirm the direction that we are taking with the design and aesthetics of the project and make sure that council supports them, so we can continue to progress this project. And then we're also wanting to talk a little bit about design decisions and branding and how an operator would be involved in that and how the city would be involved in those sorts of decisions. So we're going to start talking with the program evolution, and Simon's going to take the lead on this discussion.
Thanks, Jen, and thank you, City Council. It's good to be back in front of you. Good to see you again. As Jen said, I'm Simon Elliott. I'm with CCY Architects. I'm a principal at CCY Architects, and with me is Sydney Quinlan. She is an interior designer at CCY and the lead on the interior design side for this project. I also wanted to make note that last several council meetings, Todd Kennedy has been here making the presentation. He was just unavailable due to other work commitments. And therefore, you get us tonight instead. Tonight, we're going to be focusing on the project interiors, both program and the design. I'm going to be reviewing the program first, and then Sydney will take over with some of the design character discussion. So, so I'm going to start by sort of refreshing your memory of, go through the program level by level of where the design stands right now. So on the main level, there are 3 kitchen vendors, an area that we're calling the lunch counter, a small retail space, and the visitor center. This main level is intended to be a family-friendly space with a sort of mix of table and soft seating. The lunch counter is really intended as an area where in the morning it's like coffee and pastry service. As the day goes on, it becomes more of a beverage service area. You can also get food from one of the kitchens and sit at the counter. But it will be where you go up and order either soft drinks or hard drinks during the remainder of the day. Also wanted to mention that we met with Jennifer Albright with ACRA to discuss the addition of the visitor center, which is up at the top of the page, north side of the project. Had a great discussion with her, talking about what ACRA's needs and desires are for the space, how they would like to see it laid out, and we are incorporating some of her ideas, and we're continuing that discussion with them. As we go on to the mezzanine, community lounge level, as we call it. Program elements, really, once again, is sort of casual seating for dining and relaxing, and games up here. And then we also have an area for a community table. We've always pictured the community lounge as a sort of third space for Aspen. Folks can gather and hang out, play a game, pop open a laptop, do some work, or meet colleagues at the community table for an informal meeting. This is also intended, this whole area is really intended to be a flexible space which can change easily over time to make sure that we're maintaining vitality. So if an operator is in here and it seems like it's not getting use, or maybe the pool tables are always full, then they really have the ability that they can switch things up, drop in a different another pool table, or pull something away. So flexibility is really key to continue the vitality of these spaces. Did want to bring up a point that in previous meetings, we actually had more of a formal meeting space up on the mezzanine. And because of comments that came from council, and where there was sort of a question about how functional that was, we actually went back and looked at the drawings. We reviewed with our consultant group about the vitality of that and the usefulness of that, and really sort of came back to the idea that perhaps it was not the best use of space in the mezzanine, and that in fact it might even sort of disturb the vibe up there. You don't want to be up there playing pool and having a business meeting going on next door. So we've pulled that out, and there is still the option of a large table space where you can gather, but it isn't quite so formal. And it also, once again, has the added benefit that we've sort of taken away a whole glassed-in enclosure door system. So we'll actually help with a bit of the budget on that area. So moving to the upper level, 2 kitchen vendors up here. This is where the primary bar is. And then we have a group of non-gendered restrooms up here. In this upper level, sort of variety of seating, once again, countertops, bar top seating, tables, banquettes, soft seating. And then we've really been investigating this idea of turning all of the dormer windows into sort of little banquette seating niches, which we're kind of super excited there. We think they're going to be sort of really cozy nooks, fun little spot to sit and be able to look out over Aspen. Sort of the vibe up here really is trying to express this almost as being in the roof of the armory, being up in the rafters. It's going to be lively, relaxed. The vibe of the whole bar area up here is supposed to really be a little bit more Little Annie's or Red Onion, and not so much the Jerome. Heading down to the basement, or to the lower level, I should say, our community flex room. Really, we've got a lot of program going in the lower level of this this facility. As I said, it's all anchored with the community flex room, but we also have employee lockers and restrooms down here. One of the restrooms actually has a shower in it, so people working here can ride their bikes to the facility, take a quick shower before their shift. So really sort of adding to the vitality there. Also down here, the main restrooms for the facility. There's kitchen vendor storage, including walk-in refrigerators. There is a warming kitchen, which helps service the flex room. And then we have the main mechanical spaces are in the upper left. Those are actually exist below the addition, which has become the visitor center. Flexible space, as the name describes, it's we want to be able to have all sorts of different events happening down here, whether it be lectures or perhaps a winter market, banquets, an art show. Really, everything that we're trying to work through with this and the interior design is to promote flexibility and not be sort of held in sort of one shape and one seating layout, one organization of the space. So going on the next page, wanted to reiterate, there's been a lot of questions about sort of flexibility for the operators to sort of rent out different portions of the armory. Event flexibility is what we've been calling it. And so there really are a few different opportunities for this. Once again, mezzanine, that area that we did have closed off, it could easily, previously for a meeting room, it could very easily be just closed off, velvet rope type closures. That's how we're considering all these closures is it's just, a sign that says private party going on. Area in the mezzanine, it could be subdivided. Larger group could actually maybe even take over the whole mezzanine. As we go to the upper level, there are a couple of different options of how to do that velvet rope once again. One important thing to remember, though, within this is that we do have the two kitchens on the upper level. And those always need to be open and accessible to the rest of the armory. So it's not that a group is renting out the whole upper level and they have sole access to those two kitchens. Those kitchens need to be part of the whole food hall experience. Last thing I wanted to just touch base on was when we were last here, there was some concern brought up about servicing the armory and how deliveries were made, especially when sometimes they aren't as regular or as scheduled as we would all like them to be. And the team definitely went and looked at a few different options. Could we create a secondary access? There were thoughts about, a second elevator and things like that. And we really sort of analyzed what the options were, but then also went back and talked with our consultant operator groups and both Bo, who is on the call, and our direct consultants, Mercer Merriweather, about this. And what they really came back with was a couple of comments. Number one was really what we have provided here is at least equal, if not better, to what they have done in their own facilities already. Okay. So they actually felt that that what has been provided is probably adequate. And they said the other thing to keep in mind with these food halls is that it isn't supposed to be this refined experience where there can't be an intermixing of the employees moving supplies around and the public. It's almost like part of the experience. You see maybe, the employees bringing in boxes which are, they're monogrammed with local produce and that sort of thing. So that's part of the experience. However, what we did realize that quite easily we can make the elevator that we have here just a little bit larger. We can go one step up. Obviously, there's a small cost increase associated with that, but we can go one step up, giving that elevator just a little bit more space, a little more room for everybody to move around in there. And then it does actually have the added benefit that although this is not required by code, it would make the elevator large enough to accept a stretcher, which the fire department
Would like.
probably appreciate. Yeah. So, so we think that that's a good idea, provided the council agrees with it, and that's a fairly easy, straightforward change that could be made.
Thank you for really digging down on that. I appreciate that. I just didn't want us to, after the fact, say, wow, I wish we'd done something a little bigger.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if you can use your arrow pointer on this slide to show us, where would the trucks that unload be accessing into the building and getting over to the elevator?
Sorry, do you want me to grab your,
Yeah.
nope, that's not, there we go.
I don't know if you're able to do that or not.
Yeah, it is not allowing us to do that.
Or
So,
if you want to describe it.
yeah, I will describe it. So the trucks will load, unload in the alleyway.
Right, right.
And so if you look at the drawing on the left-hand side, you can see two double doors which open up the page.
Okay.
That is the alley side, so they would be able to bring carts in right there.
And the
that
elevator's
is
right there.
Yeah, and then right into that back of house space. And so there's actually a couple of opportunities to, if they don't want to move all these supplies through at a particular time or what have you, that there actually is the ability that outside the doors right now, it is covered. So it is protected from the elements out there. Or you come in through those doors in that area that's called back of house. There's actually quite a bit of space in there where things could be just left and stored until a more convenient time if need be. And then obviously elevator down to the bottom and over into the storage. Or if it needed to go directly up to a kitchen, it can go up the elevator to a kitchen.
Greatly appreciate that. And the only thing I would suggest as you're finishing out the design elements is to make sure the flooring in that area will handle the dollies and the weight that people bring in. It can't be just standard flooring as in the rest of the area.
Yeah, so actually at that level is a concrete floor. Now, we may have a different finish on that for that particular area for cleanability.
Yeah.
But it's concrete floor, so durable, can handle the weight. And then certainly running the heavy carts down into the basement, once again, it's concrete slab.
Very good. Thank you for attending to that.
No problem. So you can go on to the,
Yeah, I know, it's froze, sorry.
froze up.
Yeah. Hang on. There we go. There we go, sorry.
Hello, all. As Simon mentioned, my name's Sydney Quinlan. I'm also with CCY Architects. I'm an interior designer at the firm and leading the interior design on the Armory. And I'm super excited to show you guys what we've been working on. So starting off with the concept for the space, we really pride ourselves at CCY on, really diving into the history and coming up with strong concepts for the design and making good design decisions based on those concepts. And the Armory itself has such a diverse history of uses in this space, from being used for militia drills to being a fraternity hall, police station, and city headquarters. It's really got an eclectic past. And the community here as well, the people that live here also are an eclectic group of people that come from many different walks of life and come together to live in this incredible place. And so the goal in the design of this space is really to capture that eclecticism and have that resonate with the community here. We want it to be memorable and engaging for the senses, and at the same time, a home base, and for it to be really comfortable and casual for the community. Going into the interior character and palette of the space. We're really pulling from the nature that surrounds this city and the valley, using a lot of rich earth tones. The other thing is we really want to blend a lot of soft curves with linear lines, and really blend the softness of the furniture and the furnishings with the more rigid structural elements that will be implemented in this building. You'll see, the exposure of the historic brick that is this building, and that'll be juxtaposed by some new fresh tile and other textures that will be brought in, as well as just really capturing the history through the darker, rich wood tones, and then bringing in some lighter, more rustic wood tones with the new structure that's going in. So starting off our pretty pictures with coming in from the Connor Park entry, we're greeted by the main stair, which really is, we want to encourage this to be the main circulation for the building. And so we've designed this stair to, combine that rich dark wood tone with sort of this new bronzed steel balustrade element that creates this ribbon effect, and it really guides you up through the levels of the space and entices you to go explore through the building. And on the left, we have the lunch counter, which, as Simon mentioned earlier, really wants to be this family-friendly, kind of any sort of day, welcoming space that you can enjoy coffee or a meal at, or a beverage. We have a change in floor material here that really grounds this area and kind of makes it prominent in the space, as well as the canopy that we've designed to go above the space that really encapsulates this area and makes it feel a little more intimate when you're dining on this main level.
Yeah, as Sydney was saying, sort of that canopy. So this main level of the armory is going to be quite voluminous. And so actually being able to create some areas where the sort of ceiling drops down a little bit creates some interest in the section within the space. And then this canopy in itself actually it provides an opportunity that we can actually add some acoustic baffles in there, which is going to really help a bit with the sound reverberation, which is going on.
And there will be other acoustic mitigation in the higher level ceiling of the space, but it will only help with that aspect.
Next.
So, as you know, we've got 5 kitchens throughout this building. The goal for the kitchens is really to keep the facades pretty cohesive. The materiality includes, a deep green tile that will carry through to the other kitchens upstairs as well. And then the sort of personality can be brought through signage for each vendor. And this really just creates ease for the operator when it comes to vendor turnover in the future. And I think it makes the space feel connected and helps with wayfinding for those kitchens. Just a couple more shots of the main level showing, versatility of seating down here, mix of lounge seating. We've activated the back side of this main staircase with some fun banquette seating as well. Moving up to the community lounge, you're immediately greeted with, a social area for hanging out, games, many places to sit and enjoy a meal. And we really want people to be able to enjoy the space for a longer period of time. You know, a typical food hall often has a bit of turnover when it comes to tables and such, but as the Armory is intended to be a space for the community, and we really want to create a level where people can hang out. And, you know, some of the imagery on the side is intended to be conceptual and just, you know, to show that we intend for the space to be colorful and fun and playful and not necessarily have swinging egg chairs.
You know, I'd just like to say that in looking at the previous slides, when it showed the mezzanine level, it seemed to show, and I realize these are just illustrations, it seemed to show all square tables, and now you have a few round tables in here, and I like round tables, so I just like you to keep it mixed up. You know, it's a little more friendly sometimes when you're playing cards or having drinks together.
Yeah, for sure. And certainly, I wouldn't, even from the floor plans that we were looking at before, that, you know, the disbursement of whether they're square or round or rectangle, that's all being massaged and developed, and the actual pieces of furniture by no means have been selected yet as well, but
love the
that
input
mix.
because
Yeah,
it's good to hear that feedback and be reminded of things like that, for sure.
And I'm going to ask my other council members for comments at whatever point, but this seems to be the right point for me for this comment. I want to make sure the chairs are really sittable. And, you know, I saw it better with this blow up as opposed to our small screen. It looks like the lower level ones are, but I used the example of one of the new restaurants down at Clark's. As you go to the interior seats, you just about slide off them. And there's no place to put your feet, really. And I just, you know, I know some places get really small chairs to be able to fit more people in, and we want this to be comfortable chairs. So that's all I was just going to say is let's test the chairs that you're thinking about.
Yep, totally
Absolutely.
agree. And that will be part of that's going to be part of the process. It happens, and you know, we actually have, sadly, lots of months before we
get to final furniture. I understand. I might not be at the table by the time you took in furniture. I want to make sure that comment went forward.
But no, that is well taken, and we're on the same page there.
Okay, thank you. Did anyone else have any comments they want to offer at this time, or we'll have more opportunity? But and Pete, you have some
I was just
comments?
going to add that Councilmember Guth did have a comment about the handrails, and essentially you have some pictures here. He was interested in knowing if those could be dressed up a little bit more as opposed to strictly vertical, and he is just reiterating his verbiage, they're a little bit boring. So if there's an opportunity there, I think you'd be interested.
Something to take a look at.
Something to take a look at. Yep, okay.
Yeah, I know there end up being these rules. The bars can't be far enough across for some little kid to get his head stuck in, you know, or slip all the way
That's
down.
right. Yeah,
So-
no more than 4 inches of a gap and things like that. But we can certainly take a look at that. And you know, we also have to be keeping in mind, you know, the cost of all this as we move forward into the design, and not that it needs to be inexpensive and boring, but we will certainly.
Well, and
keep
I can
looking
see
at
it as
these
something
things.
that, you know, you get into November and suddenly people have put garland all around those stairways all the way up. You know, I mean, people might dress them up with leaves in the fall for Halloween. So, you know, it's something that we can think about other ways that make them exciting as well and keep the cost in mind.
Yep.
Moving on to, we're still in the community lounge on the mezzanine. We just got a couple of other shots. You know, as Simon mentioned, we want this level to be flexible for the operator. You know, games might come and go, that sort of thing. But a couple fixed elements on this mezzanine level include some counter rails at those railings, some with stools, some being just drink rails. And then, and I think that will really promote the connection between, you know, the mezzanine level and the main level below, and just kind of add to that social buzz. And then another element we've implemented is some shelving in the corner there that allows for, an AV opportunity so that some people could have a small informal meeting, or, students could work on a school project at that community table. It also could be storage for board games or, a community bookshelf, and there's a little library moment in the corner there. As we ascend to the upper level, the left side here, we've got our last two kitchens. Again, that materiality, the deep green tile, will create as sort of wayfinding, or will act as wayfinding for those kitchens, bringing in that sort of bronze, steel, and wood canopy over the top. Continues that language from the lower level. We're just doing it maybe a little bit differently up here to give it a little personality, separate from the other kitchens. And then we've got beverage station, hospitality station, and that's flanking a circulation path that is screened off but leads into the toilets up here. Mm-hmm. And if you were to spin around from standing in that spot, you would be immediately your attention would be captured by this screen element that we are conceptualizing to live above and behind the back bar of the main bar that is up here. And this is kind of a fun sort of design experience for us. We discovered these old mining section maps from the Aspen smugglers' tunnels. And so the screen is taking inspiration from the shafts and tunnels and stopes of those mining maps. And you can see an example of one of those over on the right side of the page. So that's been the design inspiration for this screen element that just really kind of creates a cool backdrop for this bar up here. Surrounding the bar, again, multitude of different seating options. We've got round booths with round tables, and we've got dining, 4 tops, 6 tops with bench seating, built-in lounge furniture, and then as Simon mentioned earlier, we are activating these dormer nooks, which really are a special piece of, the architecture of this building, and kind of creating these special moments within those where you can look out and have an intimate moment looking out over the city or at the mountains and really enjoying the space. And then the skylights up here, I'm actually going to go back one slide, Jen. The skylights up here will really bring in a lot of natural light and really make you feel like you are, as Simon mentioned, kind of up in the rafters, up in the mountains, and they'll bring a great vibe to this upper level. Moving on to the lower community flex space. So again, flex space, flexibility. We want there to be any number of events that can go in here. As Simon mentioned that previously, you can see example of maybe a discussion panel that's happening, or next slide, maybe a banquet. But the idea with the design of the space is to mitigate that sort of basement effect and really make it feel light and airy and neutral. And then a sort of organic and unstructured lighting solution will really allow for any seating arrangement or table arrangement in this space.
Yeah. One additional comment from Councilmember Guth on this was there was a question about what's the ceiling height in the basement?
So the ceiling height, there's, it's going to be kind of hard to point out, but there are some slightly lower members as you look at this view, and the bottom of those are 8 feet above the finished floor. And then where the rest of the baffles, we're calling them baffles, are that pops up about 4 to 6 inches. So it's 8 foot to 8'6".
8 to 8, 6.
I think Councilman Guth had wanted to see a 9-foot minimum.
I think the bottom of deck is 9 feet. And so because we're going to have, electrical and mechanical and other not so sightly things, under that deck, if we left that ceiling open, it wouldn't have the same.
It's one of
feel,
these
I
things
think.
where we're actually a little bit stuck in this. I mean, if there, certainly one could dig the basement out deeper, but right now we are trying to work with
What we have.
effectively the levels that have been provided to us, and unfortunately that's kind of how it plays out. And so we've certainly been aware that a few extra inches would be great, but we have to structure the floor up above, which is what sort of starts to set that beam height.
Now, I'm just trying to recall, maybe you've measured it. What is the height of the basement in the old Armory building now?
I don't have the actual numbers, but there are, so what exists down there right now is there are dropped beams in there that are then, I think, wrapped in drywall. And I believe those actually end up below 8 feet.
Yeah.
And then it pops up and you get zones that are above 8, taller than 8 feet, which is similar to what we're trying to do here, but really trying to, maximize it as best we can and get to those.
And tell us a little more about this roof that looks like it has waves in it. Is it, tell us about the roof here.
So again, I think what I meant earlier by mitigating the basement effect is, the current space that you just asked about, it has sort of similar as to we're showing. It has the larger membranes that are encased, or a structure that's encased. And then it pops up in other places, but you have this flat ceiling, ACT, and it feels like a basement down there, right? And so I think where these baffles come in that you're asking us about, I think the goal is by using the same material on the walls and up on the ceiling, it kind of gives you a hug rather than feeling compressed on top of you, which a flat ceiling can sometimes feel that way. And then I think having space between them, having some airspace between each of the baffles will also make the space feel a little taller and lighter and less oppressive.
And I think also what you were asking about is how the baffles appear to be tapered and rolling up towards the light fixtures. And it's, so is this playful thing that we've been working with to have those sort of really organic light fixture shapes, and then just allowing some of that ceiling treatment to respond to that. And wherever those baffles carve up, yes, once again, it's actually gaining just that little extra space where we possibly can, and just trying to create, more of an event of this ceiling structure rather than just having a flat lid which runs straight across.
I can understand that. And if anybody else has comments or questions on that, we can ask them now, or we can ask them at the end. It's John?
I just want to say, I went to a CAS meeting last spring at the Strader Hotel in Durango, and the conference room was in the basement of a historic structure, and it was really well done, but as you're saying, the ceilings were flat, and you knew you were in a basement. I think, just looking up here, we're getting the same effect as what I think you're trying to get to here. It's having more of a sculpted ceiling with recesses for light fixtures and just more of an open feeling to what exists above instead of just blocking everything off.
Exactly. Yep.
Thanks for pointing that out, John. I appreciate that. It is an unusual concept to me, but I'm not a designer, so there you have it. Were there any other comments from Bill on this larger project?
No, I think the rest of his comments were related to the actual questions that I'm sure you're going to get to, and he was affirmative on all the questions.
Okay. Hey, that's great. Okay, let's continue on if you have more to the presentation.
So just to wrap things up, again, kind of going back to the materiality and the color palette, and we spoke a little bit about this already, but all of the sort of furnishings for this space, the material palette, it's all very conceptual at this point. We're just starting to dig into some of this stuff, but the main goals we really want to focus on are durability, flexibility, and comfort. And durability, we live in a very outdoorsy, adventurous community. We want people to feel comfortable coming in off of a hike or off of the ski mountain, and really enjoying the space, no matter their condition. And if they're sweating, if they're dirty, that's fine. Like, we want this to be durable, and we want people to be able to feel like they can walk in here and still come in and grab a post-hike meal or beverage. But then also remembering the comfort at the same time and making sure everything is, enjoyable to sit in, because we don't want that to be a deterrent as well. But the kind of eclectic nature of all of this, and really the colors and the textures and the patterns are going to come through in these furnishings. The backdrop, or the structure and the building itself will be this sort of neutral backdrop for these colorful, fun furnishings that can be switched out or be replaced by an operator at any given time.
Very good. And so let's go into our questions.
Well,
Oop, 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 oop.
one more thing, and then we'll go to questions.
Okay.
So, as I mentioned, we recently received cost estimates based on the design development drawings, so more advanced drawings, but not finalized drawings. So we just want to give you some information on this estimate.
Well, and luckily, we're all sitting down.
Yes. So the estimated construction for hard costs is $44.8 million. Now, that includes the armory and the addition, the park, and the parklet, the Hopkins right-of-way improvements. Breaking that down, and these are rough breakdowns, we're putting them in cleaner baskets than I think they typically are construction-wise. But if you look at just the building cost of the armory and the addition, that is $42.8 million, or just over $2,200 a square foot. The addition, if you pull that out, just the addition, for the ground floor and the basement, based on that square footage and the dollar per square foot cost, you're looking at $4.2 million. So that was an add-on in scope, and that's about 10% of the building costs. Connor Park, we're looking at $1.3 million. And the Hopkins right-of-way, we are looking at just, over $633,000. That's construction costs. We also have soft costs that are associated with construction. And in that bucket, we're talking about building permit fees, acquisitions, right-of-way closures, hiring a construction manager. We're looking at $1.8 million for that. And then we are recommending at this point an owner's contingency of 15%, so that's $7 million. And that's how you get to your 44.8.
And if I remember correctly, very preliminary, and knowing that they were just shot in the dark, we had estimated somewhere around $30 million for the project in previous iterations.
Yeah, this number has actually evolved a lot over time. We started at 12 million as a set aside, and then it's grown as both construction inflation has really shot up over the years. Also the scope, as Jen has indicated, So there's been a lot of different reasons why the number's going higher and higher at this point. I do want to say that Jen did a great job kind of walking you through these numbers. I do think the 44 is separate for those other two numbers that are bolded on the bottom, the estimated soft costs and the owner's contingency. So you have to really add all those things together. And just, I have to do my job as your city manager. I have to do my job as, former city or current city finance director. That's a big number. And we definitely have some resources in some of the different funds. We are talking about the Asset Management Plan Fund and the General Fund to help support this through a cash process. We've also been talking about doing an interfund borrowing, and that can really help us close that gap. We're going to probably bring all this to you packaged up saying if this is the right number, which Tyler's very good at telling me, like, hey, this is really preliminary, this is not concrete. But if we have to plan on this as kind of a current threshold, we can make this happen. And so I want to let you know that. But I do want to let you know that you are potentially having to change future decision-making potentially from that, because we will take fund balances down to very low levels in some cases, down to their minimum requirements on the general fund for reserve requirements or things like that. So I don't want to sugarcoat it for you. I do want you to know it's possible and we can do it. We just have to be really cautious and thoughtful about how we finance it.
And just a few more things to continue to manage expectations. As Pete pointed out, these estimates are based around a per square footage cost. We are so early on in the design process that we're estimating per square foot based on other building activities we've seen in the community and we have experience with. As the plan sets come together, we will be able to estimate more specifically for this building, for the design that we're proposing, and those estimates will be continuously refined as we get closer to a building permit. So we will do our best as staff to keep council updated on what those costs look like. And we're hopeful that more specificity comes more accurate cost estimating.
Yeah, well, and I appreciate that as designs get finalized, you'll try to look at whatever value engineering can potentially bring some of the costs down. It has struck me, and it probably struck others as well, but from the very beginning, when there first was the community vote of what should happen with the old armory, keep it, sell it, keep City Hall there, or whatever, there was discussions by many of a private fundraising drive to augment what the city can do. And it's something we're going to have to think about and talk about and see if there's any reality to that. But we certainly have community members who have shown a great deal of interest in community spirit in wanting to, create that third space for Aspen. You end up talking about things like naming rooms, things like that. I was there and was mayor back in the day when the Arc was built, and we had money for the whole pool side, but the ice rink side was going to be private funding. And at the first design, it did not have the youth center there, so that became a new design addition to bring the youth center up there as well. And that was a private fundraising drive that allowed the community with its tax dollars and with public contributions and tax deductible contributions able to accomplish something really great for our community that kids and families and visitors have enjoyed for decades. So this is a bit intimidating, but not all that much for Aspen. And I think we can find ways to accomplish this. And we'll have a chance to talk those sort of things over and the trade-offs over as well.
And Mayor, if I may, as Pete indicated, this project, council is going to assess this versus all the other interests in the community that come out of the AMP and general fund. As you're exploring this project and its merits, I would suggest considering both that this is a preservation of the historic asset as well as an activation. So it's hopefully doing two things for our community, but it certainly is a large resource ask as it relates to the other needs that we have to maintain our current infrastructure.
Understood. And I think we really will need to look hard to see if we can receive any of the state of Colorado historic preservation grants. I'm not sure what their limits are or what they aren't are, But, this will become an all-court press to see this dream realized. Sam?
Yeah, I just wanted to weigh in and say, that I know none of us want to do anything irresponsible, but I just want to signal again that the idea of having this project being done is supposed to have it be done and have it be for generations to come. And, I think at council and what we're doing, we're focusing on the things we can control. We can't control the private sector businesses. We can't control a lot of the costs that have escalated and the lack of community space, but we can control this. And I think so long as we're not being fiscally irresponsible when this is done, if it is done the way that I think we all intend it to be done, that it's something that this community can be so incredibly proud of to enjoy, like I said, for generations to come. And I also would add, if you go cheap, you get cheap. I sadly believe, and I think the ARC was a good example of, it's not greed or we're Aspen, but like any natural human and this community, we want it all. We want to be a really nice place to enjoy, again, for generations to come. So it's one of those things you want to do it right the first time. So beating myself, don't want to be fiscally irresponsible, but if it's done as intended, this is supposed to be the most beautiful food hall for Aspen and the community.
That's right. We're trying to set the food hall up, or the armory up, for its next 100 years of life. It's been here for 130, and we want to give it another 100, and needs to be done right, and and be thoughtful about it.
Any comments on this side?
Yeah, I'm just going to agree with you, Rachel, that I think exploring public-private partnerships, some type of support from the public, which has been, people have shown they do support this idea, would be a great way to try to get the costs down. I got to say, these drawings, every time you guys come in here, it's this is something I think the community is going to be super proud of. I'm really excited to see it go forward. And indulge me really quick with the memory I have of Andres. Just looking at the skylight over the stairway reminds me of Andres is a restaurant club in the old Prada building, and it used to be a very busy place. And on the top floor, there was a disco with a dance floor that had a retractable skylight, and they used to open it up during snowstorms.
Yep.
Yeah. Good memories.
Not advocating that for.
Oh, really?
But if you can find a way.
Okay.
Christine? Do you want us to go through notes for everything right now?
Well, yeah,
or-
I think that was your finale, you just
Right.
saved that one to last for us. But now we can answer these questions as they go forward.
Okay. It'll be hard to go from the $55 million price tag to some of the things I'm about to say, but we'll go down to the details. I think in the mezzanine, it was a good change taking out the meeting space and making that more of a community area. And something I'm thinking about for both the mezzanine and the main level is just the incorporation of family elements. I know that was part of your presentation, but there are small design touches that I'm sure you're familiar with that really welcome families, even if it's just like a kid's table or something that signals that everyone is invited in. And then at the last meeting, someone keenly mentioned a ski rack. And I keep thinking about the winter and summer uses for this building, and everything from like the floor material and people in ski boots or boots and slipping, where people are going to put their coats, and just keeping in mind the nature of the seasonality of Aspen in the design, and then how to incorporate that ski town character into this building even a little bit more. I think that's what is memorable about our town to all of our visitors and the people who live here, and making sure that's part of this building, because that's what sets us apart from a lot of other places in the country.
Very good comments. Would anyone else want to start with answering the questions that they're asking?
I have also comments such
Okay,
as
please.
Christine's. First off, I concur with Christine. And secondly, this is just like the notes I wrote down just to have these thoughts read out loud. Was just with the open design, I'm sure you guys thought of this, but I was just thinking about how sound travels within the space. I was just trying to think about what people are going to complain about or could potentially complain about, and they could be sitting upstairs and being like, I can't talk to you, it's impossible to hear in here.
Yeah, no, we actually have an acoustician on as one of our consultants, and so we're working on with various approaches to try and mitigate that concern, because it would be definitely a concern that we would have as well, so.
Yeah, and then I go back to a comment I made that Ward praised me on about being wise and not smart, which is learning from other people's mistakes. So I'm sure people have built food halls in the past and been like, damn, I can't believe we did it this way. So hopefully you've done some research on the mistakes that have been made, because that is really where you learn the most.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Just other comments, these are renderings, but I was just thinking about like when it actually gets like the interior design to it being colorful and vibrant. It's hard to see that, even though I really like what you've done. It doesn't show the color necessarily, but that's just renderings. Another note I wrote was sister cities, just trying to find inspiration from Aspen sister cities, but a lot of this is stuff that I'm like picturing going up on the wall. Because one of the things about the Armory that's kind of not interesting but unique to its space is it's an armory. It's kind of like bunker-esque at times. So I feel like what goes up on the wall when you have those giant images of the maroon bells or something that like shows what's going on outside, it really can help create that vibrancy inside. Yeah.
Yep.
I was wondering if there was any TVs in there.
So currently, the only place we've shown a couple TVs actually is up on the mezzanine. So there's a space for one next to where the pool tables are, and then there was also one near the that community table. Obviously, the ability to have one down in the flexible community space in the basement. We haven't thought about TV up on the upper level at this point. Yeah.
No, but one thing we've talked about is potential for projector screens coming down in certain places, which might be a better, aesthetic for that. And so, at the lunch counter, if they want to have a large projector screen, hidden behind that canopy, that's another opportunity that canopy has, is it could house something like that for when they want to show a game or something.
Exactly. I would hope that there's opportunities for these things, because I do imagine people want to watch events there.
Yep.
As well.
Yep.
As a designer, I like the projector screen a little better, so you don't
I can
have a ton of
I can
TVs
understand that,
everywhere,
and I think
know.
it's a more wholesome feel. I just know it's one of those things where you're trying to design something with multiple uses, and there's going to be a time when people want to go there and watch the Super Bowl, and
Totally.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And then the other one was live music opportunities. I don't know if there's like a spot where that would be necessarily.
We're definitely keeping that in mind and working that in along with AV systems, et cetera, so that maybe there's even an opportunity for not all at the same time, but different locations depending on what size group, whether it's just one person on a guitar or whether you've got a three-piece there or whatever it happens.
Or what time of day they,
Or what time of day. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the last two were just trying to keep that homage to what makes Aspen special. Just trying to go through the history and think about like the mining culture to the ski culture and really make sure those are represented inside. I'm trying to think of it from a local and also a visitor perspective of walking in there and just thinking you're in a really special place. It's not just a place like a cafeteria, it's a food hall, it's Aspen, it's.
Right.
Yeah, I know you guys are working on that, just need to say it. And then lastly, just hoping that we get the master lease operator on board. I know it was in the notes that there's going to be an RFP at the end of the month, but I just know when it comes to this sort of level design and the questions that you ask, I know how important it's going to be for them to weigh in on all these things to make sure it fits what they're planning on doing.
Yeah, and I mean, I totally agree that is something that needs to move forward. And I know Jen and Bo have been working on that RFP, and getting that operator on board is a great idea. However, the one thing we need to or want to be thinking about and have been talking about as a team is that really we want to make sure that actually that the city is leading the way in terms of the really look and feel and in many ways the branding of this space. It's
Well, the city's going to own the asset.
yeah, the city owns the asset,
And
so they
operators
should
might
really be in
change.
control.
So we want to make sure the city leads on that. We do think the operator will have input to some extent on design, interior, particularly when you start doing a furniture package. What you might spec might not be available, and they might have some more input on the furniture. But also with the branding, they'll want to have their stamp on branding to some degree.
Definitely. And then, so final comments here, supportive of everything there, so that's my take on that. Making sure it's a place that you can grab and go, because to have affordability, you need high volume.
Yep.
And then last, since we're bringing this up again, and I feel like the story in the paper is always going to be the price tag, is just, living in Aspen as a non-multimillionaire is a sacrifice for everyone. And I think some of the things that is the point of the taxes that we collect, which are extraordinary compared to communities of our size, are meant to be given back to our community to do projects like this so they can benefit from that enormous tax base. And I just really wanted to say that because I think people might lose the plot on this one, which I'm afraid of, but they should really be celebrating that something is coming that is going to be very special. So thank you for all the work you've done.
Thanks.
Thank you. And so on the 4 questions, are you a yes?
Yeah.
On those, and we've had you on yes on those.
Yes.
John?
Absolutely.
Yes on those. Additional comments, John, on the,
I did just have one question. The flooring on the mezzanine on the top floor, is that hardwood or carpeting?
It's hardwood.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, hardwood. Wanted to sort of have really nice rustic character so that, hey, it can handle people tromping through in boots and things like that, but sort of really being really related to our area as well. Sort of nice old wood floor. Yeah, but they can take some abuse too.
anything else?
I just didn't get to say it at the start of my comments, but it's moving along really nicely. And so thanks for all your work on this.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a few kind of items that duplicate or reinforce what others have said. Yeah, thinking about where coat racks go, I think is a really important item. I mean, if you're going to have 60 people in there in the winter, you're going to need 60 coats off for the most part, although I always wear a coat because I'm cold. And I think you should look at the type of purse racks that people have underneath the bars on a lot of those sidebars.
I was thinking about that today.
Yeah, you don't want purses all over the floors and people tripping on them. I'm going to disagree a little bit with some of your comment there and maybe others. I don't want this to look on the inside like a hotel that's decorated with a lot of pictures of maroon bells. I mean, if we try to make it the ski history and the mining day history and everything somehow woven in there, are we going to be duplicating the Aspen Historical Society? I want it to feel modern. I think the respect for the past is there, and I think this is something that'll come back to all of us. I'm not the single decider, and I'm not saying that. But I love the clean lines that you've produced so far. And I did think, where will pictures go up? Because there may be some, and there may be some that change periodically or things like that. But having traveled all around the state and stayed at hotels for business, I can't tell you how many rooms I've been in that had the picture of the maroon bells, or a picture of this, or a picture of that, and it just, I want to make sure it's fresh. And that's all I'm saying. And I can see some historical context, certainly, but is that part of what belongs in the visitor center as opposed to in the hallways? I don't know. I don't want to end up with something that's cluttered and that tries to be half of this and half of that. And so that's just my advice on it. It's not set in stone. I just have a little, oh God, not another picture.
Right. I mean, we have actually had some thoughts about it. I mean, because some of the walls are quite grand and sort of like, well, okay, would some artwork be appropriate on those walls? And hey, maybe this is an opportunity for public art.
I want to leave it wide open. I don't think, this is not a winter ski brochure. You know, it's not about attracting people here. It's about telling them what we are when they're already here. So maybe that's a small little difference. I also fully agree and have been thinking about the TVs, you know, and it's something that for a lot of people, watching the Sunday football games is going to be why they're either there or they're not there. And I don't want it to be people are not there because they can't see a game. And so if these projecting screens can come down and then you get the TV channels on them and you can watch the game, or if they pay for the red zone or whatever they have to do. But there are so many different sports, and we're going to want to see the World Cup races. You know, we're going to want to see the Tour de France. We're going to want to see a lot of things. People want to see the Rockies have the second worst season in baseball ever instead of the very worst. So, you know, I just think we have to think about where those things are and how they're set up. And then the noise attenuation, of course, between floors, as well as, you know, when they built the Arc, they put up a certain amount of sound barrier, waited to see it in use, and then had to put up more sound absorbing materials. So it takes a little bit of time.
I think the other quick thing to note about that is that that is something the operator might have a decent amount of input on, and we've talked about that.
Yeah.
Is that when it comes to the
What
TVs.
attracts people in.
Yeah. So I think we fully realize that it's lacking in that category at the moment, but there needs to be
We live in the
further
information
placement.
age. People have a hard time being cut off for a short period of time or missing their favorite players. And I do agree with you about we are creating something for generations to come. But I do want to say we have to weigh the trade-offs very, very carefully. You can't have your water system failing because you decided to build a food hall. You can't not move forward with other things that are pressing. And, you know, I have to say it, I think our tax collections seem large as a resort community, a population this small, but not when you're entertaining 30,000 people a weekend and you're policing for that, and your roads are for that, and everything else is for that. You know, it's kind of, you know, we're a balanced budget. We're not seeing a lot of extra surpluses going forward because we are taking care of perhaps aging assets that people hadn't taken care of in past councils. So, you know, we're going to have to weigh the financial decisions very carefully and look for assistance wherever we can find it. So I agree with all the items on the board there as well. And John, if you have a final comment, we'll move on to the next item.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I really did like the innovative design of the mining stope maps as the screen. And I think you guys will probably come up with several other great ideas to incorporate into the Armory. And I think you touched on it, or somebody did, that I think maybe the blank walls is a good opportunity for more public art displays like we have here at City Hall.
Yeah, there's lots of opportunities, and we'll get down to those finishes when we raise 50 million.
And even that screen, I failed to mention that I think we see that as an incredible opportunity for a local maker to come in and build that for us and have that be a really special piece that's from someone in this community.
I like the nods to our history in the actual physicality of the building. I think that's very cool. So we need to look at this resolution here, and it's all writ for us to just pass it, and you've heard all our feedback. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 129, Series of 2025, the Armory Hall remodel and reuse?
So moved.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Nicole, will you call the roll, please?
Counselor Benedetti?
Yes.
Counselor Doyle?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Richards?
Yes. Thank you all so much. We appreciate your work, and we look forward to seeing you on the next go-round. We are now scheduled to go into an executive session.
Mayor Richards,
Sorry?
there is another item, the
Oh, wait a second.
Centennial,
I'm sorry, I have,
Centennial
I'm
matter.
sorry, I got this from the clerk.
It was amended.
It's not the amended agenda. I know it is.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that, guys. I just work off a paper copy, and it wasn't the amended agenda. But what resolution is that?
Resolution.
The next item is Resolution 130, Series of 2025, City of Aspen, which is regarding the APCHA versus Centennial, City of Aspen and APCHA versus Centennial Settlement Term Sheet Agreement. And this is an item that has been with us for quite a while, and I will ask our Special Attorney, Jim True, to go over that for us all.
Yes, Mayor Richards, Council, there is before you Resolution 130, Series 2025, which, if adopted, would approve the Centennial Settlements Term Sheet Agreement and authorize the mayor to execute that agreement. It has been signed at this point by Centennial following a vote of their board of their homeowners association. The term sheet, in essence, is a proposal that, if completed, and there's a lot of work to be done, but if completed, it would allow the purchase by the City of Aspen and APCHA of 2 parcels totaling approximately 2.2 acres of land that are owned by Centennial for the purchase price of $7,529,530. Excuse me. City will eventually conduct a finals. Did I not do it?
Yeah.
Sorry. I had it on, but anyway. The city will formally survey the property and determine the final acreage, but it will be approximately 2.25 acres. The purpose of the purchase for the city is to acquire the property and land bank that for future construction of affordable housing. The proceeds of the construction is proposed to be used, or of the purchase is proposed to be used for the repairs of items that Centennial has been asserting for some time need to be repaired for the benefit of their homeowners. That I don't want to get into all of the details of the history of the dispute between the City of Aspen, APCHA, and Centennial, and previously Pickens County. I would note that the Centennial project was built in the early 1980s through a project that was the county's. It was in the county at the time. It has been annexed by the city. And over the years, the Centennial homeowners have had problems with various issues that they assert were related to construction. 2016, they actually filed a lawsuit against the city, and that was addressed by the local court. Both sides appealed how the judge here addressed the issues that were before her. It went to the Court of Appeals and was eventually remanded, upholding all her decisions. That left one claim available. The purpose of all of our discussions, including the purchase of the land by the city of that 2.25 acres, was to create a win-win for both Centennial and the City of Aspen. The city will gain that acreage and land bank it, and we emphasize that's a huge point for the city and why it's proceeding with this. The Centennial homeowners will have the proceeds and will be able to use those proceeds for the rehabilitation of their property and or address the problems that they feel they are facing and have been facing for years. And there will be a requirement of the agreement that all homeowners will have updated deed restrictions. Some of these deed restrictions that owners were entered in the early 80s and 90s. They are not consistent with the current updated versions, and part of the agreement here is that all of the owners with these older deed restrictions will update those to the modern restrictions. So again, I would emphasize that we feel, and the city feels, this is a win-win. City gets land for future affordable housing. Homeowner Association gets the proceeds of that purchase to address their issues. The deed restrictions get updated. There is still a lot of work to be done for this to be ultimately completed, but this is the first step. If the City of Aspen approves it, if City Council approves this resolution, then it will go to APCHA. APCHA will, Board of Directors will also have to approve it. Once that's done, we will take the steps that are outlined in the agreement, and eventually Council will be required to approve a final contract for the purchase of the land. Centennial will, the Council and APCHA will have to approve that final contract. Centennial will have to provide all the updated deed restrictions, and hopefully the matter will be closed and they can get their repairs following receipt of the proceeds. There will be conditions on the use of the proceeds that we will be providing them, and that will be worked out as part of the purchase contract. So at this time, the outside counsel that was hired by CIRSA, Josh Marks, City Attorney's Office, and the City Manager recommend that Council approve the Centennial Settlement Term Sheet Agreement and Resolution Number 130, Series of 2025. I'm happy to answer questions.
Do we have questions? Sam?
One silly question, then comments. Just because I haven't experienced it yet, our two APCHA board members, are they allowed to vote on this and in APCHA?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Just one of us, actually.
No, I knew that, sorry, but just making sure that we weren't disqualifying.
Crossing wires.
Yeah, or disqualifying our vote in the APCHA. Secondly, to an empty room, which is crazy, I think this is one of the most massive accomplishments. Sitting in all these executive sessions and talking about this issue and knowing that's been going on for decades and talking about a lawsuit that started in 2016, almost a decade ago, and here we are with a resolution. This is a champagne popping,
Well, let's wait until the rest of the details have come together.
fair enough, but like,
No, I think it's because of the change of the press deadlines with the papers. So they didn't get the amended packet in time to have made it today's story, which would have led to a fuller room.
fair enough on that, but I still comment on the craziness that like it is an empty room when this happens sort of thing, because it feels like one of the biggest deals of an issue that's like one of those ward impossible issues that's never going to be solved, and here we are actually potentially solving it. And it's just, I just don't want to let it go lightly to this empty room, because it's just as wonderful a thing. It's like we all champion the issue. Congratulations to Ward and Tory as well, and whoever else worked on this, all the past councils. But to be sitting here with you three and Bill, who's not here, like it is as like happy as I've ever felt as far as like being able to accomplish something, because I cannot stress enough how many executive sessions, how many times people from Centennial came in, how that living area is such a bedrock to our community, and how we did it in a way that I don't think is a dangerous precedent for future HOAs who still should be responsible in funding their HOAs and not ending up in situations where they have deteriorating conditions. So it's just big pat on the back to everyone for this. I know it's not over the finish line completely, but to have gotten to this point,
I know.
There were times where I was wondering if it was ever going to happen.
Well, I think we owe a great debt of thanks to our attorney team and
Yeah.
Kate in her absence, and Pete and everyone who's been working on this. But John, your comments?
I just want to say there's still an opportunity for more poetry, I believe, Mr. Cross. And I would agree with Sam. This is pretty much a watershed moment, and it's nice to finally be able to talk about it.
Yeah, very good. Christine, do you have any comment?
There's nothing I can add. Well said, Sam. Thanks.
I do think it's monumentous. There's no question about it. I will feel better once the bows have been tied and the knots been tied, but is this a major step forward? I think it's important to note just clearly that this is a land purchase. This is assisting them with their issues at Centennial, but it's not precedent-setting unless other complexes have a lot of land to sell us for future affordable housing projects. And I do, again, I can only thank the attorneys and the people who have been working on this a month. It's very important in my mind to note that this project was originally conceived, designed, and developed in Pitkin County. It was a county project. And I know in the past when our boards would talk about it, the county really had no funding source for affordable housing. They only had mitigation fees, which were supposed to create new units. But perhaps now that we have reached a settlement and the county has a separate funding source, we could perhaps talk to them about helping to participate in this cost. So we'll have to see where that goes. But anyhow, is there a motion to approve resolution number 130, series of 2025, the Centennial Settlement Term Sheet? And I'm just going to suggest that John and Sam somehow get this because they've been dealing with it the longest.
I was going to suggest the same thing.
Yeah. Who wants the first?
Go ahead, John.
I'll make a motion to approve Vote Resolution 130, City of Aspen, APSHA versus Centennial Settlement Term Sheet Agreement.
Seconded.
There you go. Thank you very much. Nicole, will you call the roll, please?
Counselor Benedetti?
Yes.
Counselor Doyle?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Richards?
Yes. Thank you. It's very nice as someone who sat in on this issue as a county commissioner, as a city council member, and now as a mayor to see it resolved. So I totally share your sentiments on that. We now have a presentation by our attorney about why we're going to go into executive session.
Yes, Mayor Richards.
We all voted yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Long day. Okay.
You did vote,
executive
right?
session.
Mayor Richards, council, staff is recommending that council go into executive session pursuant to CRS Section 246402-4B, conferences with an attorney for the local public body for purposes of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions. 4E, determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations and instructing negotiators. And 4F, personnel. The specific items of discussion involved the City of Aspen versus 359 Design LLC, the interview of Pete Strecker, finalist for city manager position, and discussions with negotiators regarding a city manager contract. If council votes to go into executive session, the executive session will be recorded, and the recording will be maintained by the clerk for a period of not less than 90 days.
Okay, and we will go into executive session here, but then meet downstairs in council chambers?
Correct, and the public should realize that we will not return to these chambers to end the meeting. We'll end the meeting downstairs.
Correct, and we cannot take action in executive session.
Correct.
Very good. Okay, is there a motion to go into executive sessions based on the recitals of our city attorney?
So moved.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. If you'll call the roll, Nicole?
Counselor Benedetti?
Yes.
Counselor Doyle?
Yes.
Counselor Rose?
Yes.
Mayor Richards?
Yes. Thank you very much. We will go and reconvene downstairs. Thank you, Grassroots. As always, you've done a great job projecting us and keeping us on the air. We appreciate it.